as on the last time we met, and I would like to submit these documents to you, Mr. Chairman. The first one is the confidential settlement and release agreement that was signed between Bank of Uganda and Mr. Sudhir Ruparelia. The second is the confidential settlement and release agreement implementation agreement. And the third is the KPMG report on disaster recovery planning and cybersecurity reviews at Crane Bank Limited.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, in clarification, you had asked for reports by KPMG, if you recall. If we're looking at page 59 and table 47, the report we are submitting is the Information Security Testing and Disaster Recovery Gap Assessment Report. As for the provision of technology, technical support, we do not have a report of technical support. If I may, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Which document is confidential in all those? I always want to be reminded of that because we have so far done very well, Bank of Uganda officers, that any document you've told us is confidential, we have treated it as such. And we have not leaked any document as Parliament or as a committee. So you should always tell us which document is confidential and we handle it in a confidential manner.
Mr. Chairman, the first document, which by its very name says the confidential settlement and release agreement. I submit, Mr. Chairman.
Colleagues, these documents have been submitted. We did also remember some documents were laid on table by the Honorable Dongoto, and I did ask a few colleagues to look at those documents and give us a report. May I know from the Honorable Anita Mong or from the committee, the subcommittee we put up, how far you have gone, because we also need to clarify this matter.
Thank you, Chair. As a committee that was given to do the work, that is myself, Honorable Sheila, and Honorable Francis. We started on the work. We've written letters to all the institutions that are supposed to avail us with information that can help us in coming up with a solution. We've got some information and we've not yet got all the information. So, Chair, we request that we be given some time for us to be able to give the committee a report that will be good enough. And we had also asked from Bank of Uganda in the last meeting that we needed all the securities, all the loans that were sold to Kaplan, Octavia, Seal, the ones that were discounted at 93%. We needed to have a look at those loans such that we can be able to relate with some of the things that we're investigating. And we've not yet got that report from Bank of Uganda.
Did you request for that information in writing?
We requested for it in the committee here.
Yes, Honorable Kasivante.
Based on the explanation of the Vice Chair.
Unfortunately, you bring the procedure before I finish my statement.
Yeah, that's when you could best help.
Okay, let's see, it's a procedure.
Mr. Chairman, when you made orders for the subcommittee to go and do some work for us, you indicated that you're going to investigate the relevance of the documents to what we have.
No, to authenticity and relevance.
And relevance to the audit query.
It's a good clarification, thank you.
It is the relevance of those documents to what we are investigating now. and then the authenticity of the documents.
Actually, we start with authenticity.
So we are first checking on the authenticity, and then the relevance will come in when we get the documents from Bank of Uganda to relate whether there is substance. It's about substance over form. And then, of course, the other parties also, we need to give them a fair hearing.
I think let us guide them. Let us not have another process, another committee process there. What would require of you, our colleagues, is check on the authenticity of those documents. That's number one. Number two, also the relevance. I think those are the two things. I don't want another proceedings there. Let us have all the proceedings here. Chair, just 1 second, Honorable Cooper. In the process of checking on the authenticity, I would suggest quite strongly that you also have an interaction with the people who are affected. If you have to check on the authenticity of those documents with the people who are affected, you need to have a conversation with them. But as we say, until that report is out, please, it is not for public consumption. Because if those documents are not authentic and they are not relevant, we don't want that to become a public debate. Honorable Cooper?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, listening to Honorable Anita, it gets to me that looks like the entities that you wrote are taking time for whatever reason to respond to, because if I got from my side, there's a number of them who have not responded to the communication from this committee to provide the necessary material to enable the subcommittee conclude its work. Maybe if it so pleases you, maybe you may have to intervene to make sure that they don't move that subcommittee from concluding the work.
Okay, I think we should treat this matter as urgent as possible, because it affects some people and we need to resolve it one way or the other. So I suggest that later should be Thursday to have this matter resolved. If there is an office which we will have to talk to, I'll engage that office. But I'll handle it with the subcommittee to make sure that they expedite and we have a report.
And Chair, maybe that would also, you would ask Bank of Uganda to give us the documents that we asked for, the loans that were sold at a discount, including the description of the securities. That is what will make us the relevance.
Okay, I think what they are trying to, the subcommittee is trying to find out is whether, remember Honorable talked about the relevance when he was laying those documents. He said they relate to the loans that were sold at a discount. So can we therefore have the details of the loan portfolio which you sold to?
Octavius.
No, not Octavius. Nile River acquisition. Okay? Do you get it?
Yeah, I get you, Mr. Chairman. But just for clarification, that will be both for loans and the associated collaterals sold to Nile River,
yes,
and for all the other banks, or
yes,
just
yes.
What? Because what is in issue is that those which were sold at a discount,
okay,
and therefore Nairo, which was sold to Nile River.
Okay.
Chair, I think it goes beyond that. The loans that were sold from these defunct banks, because there was a say that these loans were sold to yourselves. And that's what we want to see, where the relevance comes from.
Chair, maybe to help, why can this be put in writing, such as very clear?
Okay, what we'll do, Mr. Twinemansi, I'll write to you this afternoon, okay? requiring what the subcommittee would need.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair.
Yes?
Chair, I've just perused the document submitted by EDS. And that first one, the particular one, the confidential settlement and release agreement, on the same day of this agreement signed by Dr. Pereira and Bank of Uganda, another confidential settlement and release agreement was signed between Bank of Uganda and Cantaria. Will we also have that same copy?
Sorry, the chair was consulting the auditors. May you repeat that I followed the argument?
Chair, there were two confidential settlement and release agreements signed, one between Bank of Uganda and Dr. Pereira, and another one between Bank of Uganda and Mr. Cantaria. However, the EDF has only provided one. We wish to have the second one for the benefit of appreciating the content of those agreements.
Okay. We had also requested you to bring a legal opinion, legal advice from your external advocates, which we wanted to look at.
Mr. Chairman, on that one, I will ask our legal counsel to explain. When the request came, we formally wrote to legal counsel to provide this information, and I would like for legal counsel here to explain to you what exactly where they have in terms of opinions and from the legal representatives.
Thank you, Chair. We checked our records, and what we could get was largely the output of the legal advice, which included in addition to what you have,
what do we have?
What you have is that other document that the report on the bidding process, the one that we were looking at before.
What document is that?
You remember that document was very the report by Max.
For purposes of the record, I just want to name the document which you say we have.
You requested for legal opinions.
Yes.
And I'm advising that what we have is largely the output of the legal opinion.
But you see, before you go to the output, you must have an input. Not so. Because you can't go to the output without the input. What we are asking is the input. If these lawyers were your counsel, did the professional service, where is that service? It can be, we need either minutes, we need, for example, if they were even charging per hours, we would have the minutes, the record to show, or we need a written legal opinion. In a different way?
No, just in a layman's way. In what form were you getting the legal advice from the council, the external council? Because you could ask for written documents when you are getting it in some CDs, on whichever, these days people even use WhatsApp. In what form, such that we could ask evidence basing on that?
Most of the legal opinions were given during meetings. And then there was agreement on what should be done.
But we don't have minutes of those meetings.
Mr. Chairman, it is already admitted by the central bank that no minutes were kept, but decisions were implemented.
But how do you, counsel, convince us that after there was a legal advice when we don't see it? And you paid, for example, this bill. You paid this
legal fee for this work which we can't see.
And why did they make a mistake of having the outputs in writing?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, just for information to this committee,
Yes.
there were attempts to have minutes. Please leave me to explain. But the meetings were so frequent, people would walk out of one into the next, from one to the other, that it even became very difficult to
have a record. Madam Kasle, do you write minutes when you are walking? I thought when people are sitting and doing a meeting.
We go slow. Let's have
That's when the minutes are written. Not when people are moving from one committee to another. So, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Honorable.
The question is very clear. Can we have the legal advice?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I don't have any written legal opinions. And I think...
That's what you should say. Then for us, we shall form the opinion about it. If you say it's not there. Maybe the next question is, how did you pay the legal advisors? Basing on what there are no minutes, there is no legal advice in written form. How did you compute the legal fees? I'm asking the question. I'm waiting for the answer.
Let's have the answer. Then we Honorable Anywa. Then Honorable. I saw hand up after Honorable Anywa. Yes. Then General.
Legal counsel, please address the question.
You want me to repeat the question?
With regard to how did we compute the legal fees, I think some of these fees were pre-agreed, as you saw in that other document, those other documents that were presented here. And with regard to how they were agreed, what I know is that the governor approved those fees.
Before the approval, we think, how did you arrive? If they are pre-arrived, how did you pre-arrive at them? Because there must be the minutes for the hours spent. How did you even get to know that we're going to spend this type of hours? So how was it arrived at? Even if it was pre-arrived, there must be something. Say, yes, we are going to work for 7 hours, that's what we'll pay you. And did you work for those 7 hours or 10? How did you arrive at that? And where is the written evidence to that?
And Chair, supplementary to what Honorable Elijah is saying, that is one of the reasons why we asked for the terms of reference for those lawyers. What is that they did that they deserved all that kind of amount? Mr. Chairman, just for us not to waste the time of this, the time of this committee as Bank of Uganda, we have a document in which the terms of reference for Max Advocates were laid out. There are 2 documents.
Can you give us the names of the document? Don't just.
One is the one written by the former EDS to the governor detailing the terms of reference. It was a memo about the terms of reference for engaging PwC, KPMG, and Max Advocates. They detailed what was supposed to be done by these firms. Can you lay that document on table so that we can refer it very well? It was late because the document we have is only saying that we are appointing Max Advocates to be a transactional advisor. So what does a transactional advisor do?
And how can only one person write these documents on behalf of Bank of Uganda? You call our EDS or whatever. This is a serious matter. You can't just say, you Mr. Okelowange, you just write things like one man.
Chair, I think let's finish this, then we'll go to some other point. But for the purposes of the record from Honorable Kupa's question, there is no written legal opinion. Is that correct? That's correct. So we can't interrogate that further. There isn't any. So the...
Chair, it is also on record that there was no terms of reference, because when you look at the letter, which is here, the letter says, we propose to work with the BOU external lawyers, that's Max Advocate, as transactional advisors. I don't know whether that is terms of reference or it is...
No, Mr. Chairman, there is another document there is another document.
It's on the yellow file, on the red file, on the blue file.
If she has them, you should just say, because she's looking at them, she should just give it to the chairperson. That is
okay. I happen to have gone through your files in detail. Are you not referring to the tax invoice?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Are you not referring to the tax invoice?
No, I'm not referring to the tax invoice. Mr. Chairman, this document was... No, there is another one which says that...
You read as the headline. What you just read as the reference, the date, the reference, what that document is. You just don't go to read the middle of the body of the letter. Can you take which document you are reading? Dated what? Reference is what?
Okay, the document is dated 30th November 2016 to the governor from the then...
What's the reference? What is it talking about?
It is request for governor's endorsement of letters of engagement for and payment of professional fees in respect of services undertaken by Max Advocates, KPMG, and TWC.
Madam Kasule, deal as a lawyer, are those terms of reference? I thought that is a bill. These are two different things.
What? A bill?
Yeah. Okay, the point is, that document is after I know that reminds the General Tackle of years back, but Madam Kasule, that was a request for payment after the work purportedly executed. That cannot be the terms of reference. Terms of reference should be before the work is executed. They are the terms of engagement. Not so. So what we required was the terms of engagement.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this document says request for governor's endorsement of letters of engagement and payment for. So it was requesting for endorsement and approval of payment for professional fees.
For work already executed.
I think maybe...
let her try to answer. We don't want to cut her.
Maybe because I did not sign this memo, I would request the former EDS to speak to it, because...
Give it to the former EDS and then Honorable should come in.
Mr. Chair.
Why don't we listen to the former EDS? It is her document. She's the one who signed it. Then you can come in with the question. And we shall go in the very order. Honorable who's next to Honorable? Whose hand is up? Jane Notachirwa, Betty, and then the Honorable Tusime. Just speak to the document first.
Thank you, Chair.
The document as read, it had two requests. Request for governor's endorsement of the letters of engagement for and payment of professional fees. Now, when you go to the way we used to write these memos, when you go to the request, we requested governor to approve payment, and then we also requested governor to endorse letters of engagement. So please find attached letters of engagement for your consideration and signature.
Chair, can I ask a question? You are asking for approval of payment, which means the work has already been done. How do you ask again for endorsement of letters of engagement where the work has already been executed?
Chair, thank you. That was a practice that, yes, it was a practice in the bank that you present the letter of engagement, which is studied by the approving authority, and also you present the bill.
So why don't you give us the letters of engagement, since we have talked about it?
From Honovianda's question, when was that letter of engagement? After work has been executed or before?
Thank you, Chair. The practice was
just answer the question.
I have to explain because
just please, Madam Vajenda, just answer the question, then you explain. You don't explain before you answer.
Mr. Chairman, again I will tell you that I need to go and check when. I don't remember that.
The question comes from this side, and please clarify. Can you clarify, please?
Chair, may I request that, you know, I'm under oath and I don't remember these dates. The questions are leading me to say what was first before the other. And I cannot talk, I'm reading this letter. I cannot remember those dates, so I'm reading the letter, Chair. Please, may I request?
Do you think, logically, you can issue a letter of engagement after the work has been executed?
Chair, as I have explained, that was the practice of forwarding the letter of engagement and the
Mr. Chairman, you cannot send there how payments are going to be before the consultant has accepted your terms of engagement. How can you accept terms of payment when you don't know what you haven't accepted what you are going to do?
Thank you, Chair. It is because I read half of the request. Can I read it, the whole request, Chair?
The letter is yours. You can read whatever you want.
Thank you.
So long as what you are reading answers the questions.
The purpose of this memo is to request governor's approval for payment of the professional fees, Ms. Max Advocate, PwC, and KPMG, as indicated in the table on page 2. The amounts will be paid initially to the extent of 70% for the items 1, 2, 3, and 5, while 100% will be paid for items 3 and 4, where work has been completed. I submit, Chair.
This malpractice, I mean practice as it was named. I want to ask Mrs. Vajenda, what would happen if the governor never endorsed these letters of engagement and the work had already been done and we're asking for payments? What would happen in the event that he doesn't, he refuses actually to endorse, as with the practice that he used to have?
No, not only the governor, but the consultant may refuse the fees you are putting there. You haven't shown us that the consultant had agreed on those fees. He hasn't received the terms of reference to work out what he needs.
Council, let's also proceed this way, Council. You can advise your client but we don't want you to give her answers. Okay? I'm sure you know that. Yeah. What you can raise an objection, you can advise her, but what we think is not correct, and I'm sure you know it professionally, you are not supposed to be coaching her to answer. Okay? Thank you very much, Counsel. Can you answer the question, Mrs. Bajenda, please?
Thank you, Chair. If I got the question correctly, that what would happen if the governor did not endorse these letters of engagement. As I read in the request, payments would be done when the work is done. If the governor did not, may I finish, Chair?
Which work? Because we needed to know what was the work.
The work stipulated in the letters of engagement, and it is here. The firm was engaged as a transaction advisors who offered legal advice available, continued to participate in the past takeover activities, and coordinates everything that was necessary for, I'm summarizing, for crane bank resolution. And Mr. Chairman, I can give you more evidence that
as you give us evidence, you say for providing the legal advice. Where is the legal advice? Who is saying for the legal advice available? We want proof because that's what you're paying for.
I thought that question was answered by legal counsel.
You are the one who signed it. Can you tell us?
It's a legal question, Mr. Chair.
Honorable, maybe if I could still refer to the letter which we have on file. The institution that was to give legal advice was Sevalu and Lule Advocates. Those were the ones to give legal advice, whereas Max was to give transactional advice. So what we want to know, under transactional advice, what were the terms of reference? What kind of activity was Max supposed to do? The fact that you had somebody else on legal advice.
Mr. Chairman, may I request that the letter of engagement be tabled, the one I was referring to? As you know, Mr. Chairman, I am not privy to bank documents. There was a file that was tabled here by the EDS. Can I have a look at it? You remember I asked for that file?
No, you asked for what wasn't tabled, and we told you that there are not such documents. That we told you. Honorable, I think she has had her this side. Honorable, then General Takira. That is briefly out.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to speak. I wanted, finally, after a long time, but I just wanted to seek clarification. One, from the ED, is it EDS? Is it the practice of Bank of Uganda not to have minutes in their meetings as submitted by the legal counsel? Is it a practice in Bank of Uganda not to have minutes in the meetings? And two, okay, maybe if I start with that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I do not think it's the practice for any institution to have meetings without minutes.
Yeah, because Mr. Chairman, from the submission of the legal counsel, he said they had so many frequent meetings and they could not have even minutes. And it surprises me that institution like Bank of Uganda, which is very sensitive, could even hold some meetings without being minuted. Is that...
Honorable, we went through that.
Mr. Chairman, let me conclude on this yet.
Yeah.
Because she submitted...
They are not there. We are going to form our opinion.
Now, I wanted it to be on record from the executive that it is not the practice. And if it is not the practice, from the submission of the legal counsel, having held meetings without minutes,
what has been done about it. Two, as you are the legal counsel and you are giving a legal opinion to the Governor Bank of Uganda, how do you submit that legal opinion? Do you give it verbally, as Honorable Kasirante was saying, do you put it on the CDs, or you write reports and submit? And if so, how comes we don't have those reports?
Thank you, Chair. In I would say 90% of the cases, the opinions are written. But in a meeting, the opinion is probably captured in the minutes. And sometimes, if it's a discussion between me and the governor, the opinion may not even be written.
So where are the minutes which have captured? Because we are captured in the minutes. Give us the minutes which captured.
Colleagues,
Can we move on?
colleagues, just 1 second. You remember, before we broke off for Christmas, we interrogated the issue about records. The issue is there are no records. It is now about us to form a conclusion. There are no minutes, there are no records. So, and they have been clear about that.
Chair.
On that very simple one, Mr. Chairman, I just want to get from the council. This meeting is without minutes. Did they have agenda? Did you set to process any agenda in the meetings?
But without even records, how would you know that that was the agenda?
So they could just meet over tea or what? Now, without an agenda, what were you doing?
Chair,
Were they breakfast meetings? Just convened at breakfast
Honorable Kasiban,
in the canteen or what?
Honorable Kasiban, the issue is there are no records. Let us not flog a dead horse.
Mr. Chairman, just for clarity, we need to know, even if we are saying there are no records, were the records deliberately destroyed, or from the beginning it was deliberate not even to put it in writing? We need to have that one clear, because as much as we are saying we don't have now records, and yet that is not a policy of any serious institution like Bank of Uganda, where did those minutes go? Were they just deliberately destroyed, or they were not even recorded for the purposes of follow-up?
Procedure. Chair, procedure.
Honorable Chair.
Procedure, Chair. Chair, we've had it
Procedure.
We've heard from the leader of delegation, we've heard from the council, from the team, that there are no minutes, and we discussed all this in the last session. And if there are no minutes, let's leave the decision to the report. Can we move on to another issue, Mr. Chair, since we have a number of pending issues?
There is one issue here, Mr. Chair. Just before you rule, Chair. On the procedure, just before you rule. Chair,
if it is a procedure, I've got to rule on it.
Maybe it will help in the ruling. Chair,
okay.
Chair, you have really seen this practice, which is a very bad practice. And in the end, it involves money. I think it's not just to leave it at this level. I think before we conclude the thing, I think the officers must make statements with the CID. We cannot just allow people to do things with impunity. People who are professional, and they say it's a practice, and it's yet a bad practice, and they're saying we don't have any minutes. People have been paid colossal sums of money, and they take it so lightly and casually the way they are taking.
As I said before, we have to conclude this process. And any decision we take must be supported by logic and law. But it must also be exercised judiciously. Reference to an officer to the CID must be in reference to what is an apparent crime on the face of it. There must be a prima facie, from the prima facie case, just on the face of it. The chair is not yet convinced that we've reached that level. If we had reached that level, we would certainly, as a committee, refer any case which we think there is a crime there, in our opinion. We've not yet reached that level. So it will be premature for us to be referring people to CIDs to do even the work we are supposed to be doing. If it is apparent criminal, that's when we can refer an officer to the police. So at this juncture, I would think it is very, very premature to be taking such a decision. Honorable Mike, and then General. Because I'm going to rule on the point raised by the Honorable Anita among the Vice Chairperson after I've heard from Honorable Mike and General Takirwa, and Betty had stepped out when we thought it was your turn.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, for purposes of fairness to you, to appreciate the matter, I want to lay that document on the table, and that document is signed by the Acting Legal Counsel, Titus Mulindwa, and it was authored on the 5th of January 2018. And it is advised to Mark's advocate to appeal against the ruling of Honorable Justice Wangusi in the conflict of interest application. Chair, my interest in regard to this particular matter is in line with the payment that was made to Mark's advocates. I want to know from the legal counsel the validity of the legal advice that culminated into a payment, especially now that Mark was found conflicted. What was our value for money on paying a consultant or a legal advisor who was later found conflicted, and what is the validity of the advice that was given in this particular circumstance? Mr. Chairman, if you allow, I can also share this copy with the legal counsel to refresh her memory.
Okay, share it with the legal counsel. Honorable Namayanja, please.
Mr. Chairman, are we proceeding well? This is a document which is coming from an individual. It is not shared among the members, and it is going to the legal counsel. We don't know the content. May we proceed well by first getting the information as members of the committee, and then the document is shared.
Sustained.
Chair, it is the simple reason I laid it on the table.
No. I think the honorable member has a point. She wants to understand what document is being... Yeah, just 1 second. Your procedure point has been sustained. Sustained means that it is a valid point you've raised, and the document is actually being sent to you. It's just a 2-paragraph document, and I think members, they can look at it as it's just a 2-paragraph statement.
But you see, Mr. Chairman, I asked a question which was never answered. I asked how did they work out the fees before the consultant gets terms of reference. And you go to the governor to endorse. How come you worked out this without the consultant having got the terms of reference, has gone through them, and has written back to you that I'm ready to do this work at this fee? But for you, you say you do it at this. How did you do that?
Thank you, Chair. Am I supposed to respond to this document or to the question that has been raised by...
Okay, first respond to the question raised by Honorable Andala, and then I'll guide on that document.
With regard to the issue of that engagement, that document that was submitted earlier on, I am not the one who authored it, but just for guidance, I already indicated that Max Advocates were the retainer lawyers for the Bank of Uganda. Now, when the decision was taken that Crane Bank must be resolved, they came on board. Now, as to why the terms of engagement were not pre-signed and pre-endorsed before the request for payment was made, I think that is something that is being spoken to by the Executive Director, Banks Provision. I think I'm more competent to respond to the second document. I have an explanation for it.
No,
I'm not satisfied. Can Mr. Twinny now answer the question?
On the documents.
But do you know, have you understood the question, Mr. Twinemans?
I think the question is about why the part of having the letters of engagement being approved at the same time as the payment for the engagement. Is that correct, Mr. Chairman?
The same question differently, though it's the same in substance.
Mr. Chairman, I also do not understand how one would make a payment for an engagement that has not been agreed upon.
I suggest, honorable colleagues, you see, once you ask a question, the best they can do is to answer the way they think these are the facts. The judgment of the answer is for us, and it is not at this point. So I suggest that at that point we have interrogated it enough. We go to the second question.
What I wanted the committee would actually appreciate to receive from the former EDS is when the governor indeed honored the request to endorse the letters of engagement, at the same time payments after the work had been done. We should get that one from Mrs. Rajenda, whether your request was honored by the governor.
Thank you, Chair. According to this document, the governor put approved.
He approved the payment.
Mr. Chairman, the request was both and he said approved. But Chair, there is something that we are leaving behind. Because I really don't think the governor would approve that expenditure without having other documents prior to that. It now takes us back to what Honorable Elijah was saying, that we needed to find out, could those be the documents that they said were stolen? The documents could have been there for somebody to sign a document and approve. Now, we needed to find out the issue of the stolen documents.
I think we should not use the word stolen at this juncture.
Okay, misplaced and carried out documents from the institution.
That issue is going to be interrogated separately, the issue of documents. But as I say, we shouldn't use the word stolen now.
Remember, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Colleagues, before Honorable Anywa comes in, can we move in a little bit systematic way? Yeah. Because, you know, colleagues have been putting their hands up and up. I had picked them, and then they are not getting the opportunity, and they might lose out on the question. So let's have the supplementary question of the Honorable Anywa, but after that, Honorable Brigadier Takirwa and Betty, please. Okay?
Thank you.
And please, let nobody again grab the microphone.
Mr. Chairman, just from the former EDS, she has told the committee that indeed the governor approved the request. You as a professional and with the practices of institution that you were heading by then, was that the right thing you are doing? To send before the governor a request and then payment approval at the same time. Does it mean that indeed the work was done before the governor knew what was going on, and you waited when the work was completed, then you took it together to the governor to approve and sign? Was that the right thing you are doing?
Thank you, Chair. I read the request. I said payment will be paid, the amounts will be paid initially to the extent of 70%. The amounts were to be paid immediately. The 70% was completed. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, maybe we should ask the same question different. By the time you sent requisition for the money, the approval of that money, is there any work that had been completed?
Mr. Chairman, allow me to speak to the documents that are in front of me. Dated 28th November 2016, addressed to Legal Counsel on the instructions we had given Max as a transaction advisor, and we were saying to instructions to advise at the pre-takeover stage on the intervention of Crane Bank. The pre-takeover stage, we took over Crane Bank on 20th October 2016. And all the instructions are there. Advise on the selection of the appointment of the auditor, advise on the appointment of a risk audit team, and then the fee was attached. And so this fee was attached and forwarded to governor. So, in effect, the payment that we are talking about was for 70% of the work, and it would be paid once we are satisfied at 70%.
Just answer the question. By the time you wrote that memo, is there any work that had been accomplished? And on that memo, do we have, is there attached an invoice? Consultant.
The invoice is attached to Mr.
And the invoice means that the lawyers were billing for work done. Yes?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, as legal counsel said.
And that work done was already 70%. Yes?
No, I don't remember that.
Just look at the invoice.
Mr. Chairman, ECO has clarified that Max were retained lawyers.
That's not an issue. That's not an issue. Look at that. How much money was being requisitioned for? In that invoice.
You want to know the amount, Chair?
When I say how much, you say you want to know the amount?
251,045, Chair.
251,000 Ugandan shillings?
No, USD.
250,000
51,045 US dollars.
US dollars.
Yes.
So that work had already been completed without terms of engagement approved.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not so sure whether I am communicating with you. Please guide me. I was saying that the 70% of the amount will be paid according to the request.
Was that request paid of the $250,000? It was. I think we close our case on that. I'm just going to Brigadier Takira then Betty.
Thank you, Chair. I'm still disturbed by the members of that negotiation team. Because in the first place, there was no legal officer in that meeting. Otherwise, minutes would have been prepared and even legal advice provided. So was the negotiation voluntary, or you were forced to meet and come up with whatever decisions you made? Secondly, why was there that rush to sell those banks when you were well aware that the process was not yet complete? And those who were paid, were they paid for the benefit of the nation or for the benefit of individuals? And can we claim this money back if we find that the transaction was so illegal? Those are things I would wish to know.
On the second one, it's going to be in the recommendation of the committee after we have analyzed the facts before us. The first question, the negotiating team, please. Do you know Vajenda? Madam Vajenda, please.
Mr. Chairman, may I again plead to have these documents on marks. In my handover envelope, there was a marks letter of engagement. There was a service level agreement between Bank of Uganda and marks. May I have those documents, Mr. Chair, to enable me answer?
I don't have those documents, Mr. Twinemans. Where are those documents? Because Mrs. Vajenda is always asking about the documents which we don't have.
Mr. Chairman, what she refers to in the handover report as a letter of engagement is that very same document that you've been referring to. In that same memo written by Mrs. Vajenda to the governor, she lists three or four service providers, indicates a schedule of an agreed amount for each, and that is what is being called the terms of engagement. Mr. Chairman,
and the great document she's reading?
I've got to see, but I believe it's the same.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is what I have in the handover files as a letter of engagement. Thank you.
So what is she asking for?
The late Paulo Mwanga said, let his soul rest in peace, that uncoordinated movement of, this is what we are saying. Mrs. Vajenda, you have been asking for those documents. The documents which we have is the very one you're reading. We don't have any other.
Chairman, let me be on record. Tomorrow, I request if we are coming back, the EDS to bring this envelope marked 11, where there was marks letter of engagement for recoveries dated 20th January 2017,
Service level agreement between Bank of Uganda and Max, commencement date 16th January, and also
just go slow so that you note them down.
And also this letter of engagement that was attached on this draft, on this memo to govern. I wish I could have those documents, Chair.
Okay. We don't have them either.
She signed the handover, it's here.
No, what I'm saying, they are not before the committee. So, Mr. Tuinemans, you are hereby directed that tomorrow when you come over, please come with those documents. Actually, come with, you call it an envelope? Envelope what? Envelope 11.
This document that was attached.
What is it called?
No, please find attached writing to Governor the letters of engagement for your consideration and signature. They must have been attached.
Okay. Can you please come with that? You call it envelope? Envelope 11. Betty, then we go to the next
point. Thank you, Chairman. Mine is a simple one and it is going to the council. Whenever you are employed in an institution, they give you a document which stipulates what you are supposed to do and your mandate. Now I know her mandate in the central bank and her laws, because whenever we speak, we refer to the rules of procedure as this committee. Where does she refer, and where does the former EDS refer whenever she said that it was a practice? Was it a practice which was in the law, or it was the created practice? If you are a legal counsel in an institution, especially the central bank, which every Ugandan respects, and you start telling us such things, we get worried. And we don't know where we are taking the country and whether the people's money are kept safely even today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I think the honour member made some comments, but she also posed the question. Can you just answer the question and take a note of the comments, but then answer the question?
Mr. Chairman, I just beg her pardon with regard to the question.
Well, she's asking, when you say the practice, is this practice written anywhere? Is it documented?
I think the reference to the term practice was not stated by the legal counsel, although it is now being attributed to the legal counsel. I'm speaking, the reference to it was the practice is a statement made by somebody else, although it is now being attributed to the legal counsel.
No, I think yes, it is Mrs. Vagina who said it was the practice in the bank and not counsel. Yeah. I think that's what the reference
that one was for Mrs. Vagina, but for counsel, I was asking for
you as counsel.
Yes.
Not that you
what is your mandate and what are your roles in the bank? If you cannot advise.
The mandate she knows, but I think the question you are asking, is it correct to do what the executive director did then and cite practice? In retrospect, if this issue came to your desk, what would be your advice?
Okay, one of the things that I think we need to point out is like when the procurement officer was here, she indicated that this was a resolution of banks falls under emergency procurement. She indicated so. Now, it is possible in emergency procurement for some of the work to be done, not without minutes, Honorable, for some of the work to be done
as approvals are being sought. It is possible, and any procurement person can confirm that. Now, with regard to
Honorable Kasvan, you see, if the witness is answering and we cut him, then her flow might be disrupted. Let her answer, then you can take it up from there.
Now, with regard to the issue of minutes, it has been spoken to, and I think that I don't have much to add. The only thing that I have added is that there were so many meetings. Some of them would take place in the ministry, some of them would take place in the governor's office, some of them would take, there were so many meetings.
You see, that issue has been resolved. That issue has been resolved. There are no minutes. In our opinion, and this you may live here when you are knowing, there is no way you will have a government meeting without record. It is absolutely wrong. Because when you retire from office and you've gone with the official record, that's what it means. And Mrs. Vagenda told us the other day that now she's very old, she doesn't even remember some of those things. She was seeking help of Mr. Sekabira. So you can imagine a situation like that. The reason why, which I thought is purely basic, we don't have to go to school about this. Why you have record is for purposes of the institution to fall back on its archives in case it is necessary. Now we have archives of Bank of Uganda retired with Mrs. Vagenda. So that issue of minutes, please, we will have an opinion on it. Can we not interrogate it any further?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to add on what you have spoken, there is no council any emergency that calls for a meeting without one, an agenda, 2 minutes. There is no emergency that calls for engagement without any terms of reference. What emergency could that one be? You tell me to do something, but there are no terms, because it was so imagining, really. So that is a very lame excuse. You should not even, as a council, uphold such reasoning.
The issue of minutes, colleagues, is now closed. Let us not refer to minutes again. Please, let's proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, my issue is on not minutes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not referring to the minutes, but I just want to seek clarification from Madam Vagenda. I wanted to know who approved, which governor approved that requisition you sent. And for the interest of the committee, probably we'll need to find out further on what basis that request was approved by which bank governor. Because it tells us there's a disconnect between the officers and coordinated troops, as you said, Mr. Chairman. Because if work can be done before the governor knows and it's just given to approve when 70% is done or not done, then that is also an area of interest.
Actually,
can we know that?
That memo does not talk about approve. It talks about endorsement. Not so? No. Forget about the doesn't it request for endorsement? Forget about the governor's approval. Doesn't it talk about endorsement?
Chairman, can you go back and read the request?
Start with the reference.
The request.
Start with the reference.
Request for endorsement of letters.
Correct.
And the payment.
Yes. You see, the first thing, endorsement is different from approval.
Now that one, Chair. That one, Chair.
You don't know that there is a difference between endorsement and approval? And we are going to have an English interpretation of both. Endorsement is certainly different from approval. What the EDS was requesting, first of all, endorsement, then approval of payment.
Chair, Governor actually approved endorsement.
The governor said approved.
Yes, he's approving endorsement.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. And I will just speak, Chair, from...
Vincent, as you come in, the issue we're interrogating is about the professional services rendered in relation to the cost of liquidation of these banks. That's the issue. We don't have to lose out on the bigger issue we are looking at. And this particular conversation arose because we don't see any written legal opinion. We don't see any minutes where it is reflected that these service providers did provide this legal advice. Whereas when you look the documents submitted by the bank, for example, KPMG, there is a report for the auditors, and even others. Our problem is the legal advice. There is no single documentation, and yet money was paid. So, honorable members, can we restrict ourselves within that particular argument? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, you have more or less concluded what I was trying to say, but let's agree, Chair, that endorsement, as if we can refer to the document, should have come faster before approval. That one, I think the members should be online on that. Now, the other issue is that when you engage someone, you expect an output. And if there is no report, as you are saying, Chair, then obviously we have to just make that. We cannot have someone engaged, paid, without a report. We would have expected advisory notes in form of a report before any payment is done. So if those are lacking, then Chair, you guide us on our opinion.
But Mr. Chairman, the governor who endorsed it was not mentioned because I wanted to know.
Can you have that?
Chair, I keep reminding myself that I'm on oath, so I have to read. The signature is for Governor Mutevere, Tumsime Mutevere. The signature is for Governor Tumsime Mutevere, and it's dated 1st December. 1st December. I'm reading the documents here.
Please,
Chairman, you have kept reminding Mr. Sebastian that this is no laughing matter. I see how all the time laughing at smiling. Sure. It's a very serious matter. I don't know why everyone takes us forward.
No, she's just smiling like I am, so I don't think that's a big issue. Let's proceed. Which year, please?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I don't see the year. He signed 1st December. When was the letter dated?
Order, Mr. Chairman. Order, Mr. Chairman.
Order, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'm getting increasingly disturbed by the response of Madame Bajenda. She's the author of that document which she took for approval or for endorsement for that matter. And reluctantly, she's telling us she doesn't even know the year. Is she in order to be allowed to proceed while she's giving us half information to this committee, and yet she's the author of that document? Is she in order?
I think you just need to look at the document, colleagues. Whereas the document is dated 30th November 2016, the one signed by Madame Vagenda, let me see, Madame Vagenda, the governor approves it on the 1st and he puts 1st stroke 12. I imagine it's December. He does not put the what? The year. But the document itself is dated 30th. The document itself is dated. The memo, 30th November 2016. Yeah, the approval as it is 1st stroke December. It doesn't, we imagine it's the same year. And then there is another, whose signature is this? Can I, whose signature is that one? Because there is some endorsement on it. It's yours? No. And then on the 2nd of December, and this one actually includes the what? The year. 2nd December 2016, it is EDF. EDF means Executive Director of Finance, something like that. Please pay out of Crane Bank's funding account at BOU as per recommendation on page 3 and 4. And page 3 and 4 is about the justification of the costs. My only problem is the justification without documentation, without evidence. And I don't know whether you see our concern. In retrospect, maybe. Do you see our concern? Madam Vajenda, in retrospect, do you see our concern? Because I need to close this.
Mr. Chairman.
That we have somebody being paid, but now there is no record of what somebody is being paid for.
Mr. Chairman, I need to study that. Thank you.
Chairman, can I give you some
information? We don't have all the time for you to study and so on, and I believe you've come here for such a long time that you don't need to continue coming.
Chairman.
So when you say I study, I need to study.
Chairman, I give you information also. Chairman, because in that document she also says 70%. 70% of what? When we don't have those types of references. Because now how do you arrive at the 70% when we don't have? Maybe they should also tell us how is she calculating the 70%.
And Chair, when you look at this document, the governor approved endorsement. The person who actually approved the payment is Mr. Sekavira. He's the one who directed EDF to pay.
Tell us on what basis?
Well, I think this question should be asked to the governor himself. What he approved.
What did he approve?
Yes. Because it would be unfair to ask the second officer, the third officer actually, when the governor who approved is not here. He should be asked, what did you approve? Okay? Colleagues? Yeah, when the governor comes, you'll answer this. You'll answer this. Secondly, colleagues, we now need to look at another issue that was carried over, the issue of Kirkland. Do you have Yes, Mr. Sekavira, your hand is up.
Chair, you said that the governor will give clarity. But I also want to give clarity about what I did.
No. You see, let's do one thing. Madam Vajenda is the author of the memo. She has made her clarification. The second person is the governor.
Yes.
And after the second person, you are the third. Let us move systematically. We go to the second, and then we go to the third. So, colleagues, it's now Kakaland. You remember the issue of Kakaland? Where is Mr. Kakaland?
Mr. Chairman, I thought that he had been informed at the last time we were here because you had asked for him to come.
Yes.
And I thought he would have been here too.
We don't want to start hunting for your consultants. You should be able to come with them.
In that case then, Mr. Chairman, give me today and I'll come with him tomorrow.
Chair, there was a question Honorable Michael asked, and the letter was passed around. I don't know whether it can now be answered now that we've looked at the letter.
Okay, we closed the issue about lawyers. That memo, was it a letter?
Yes.
Yes, that document. Madam Kastule, please. Yes, sure.
Thank you, Chair. I think when we are looking at this whole matter, we are looking at what happened in the resolution and then what happened after. What the memo that has been moved around, the one that I had here and is now with you, related to resolution of Crane Bank. Now, after the resolution of Crane Bank, there occurred a litigation process. Now, those two processes, whereas they are related, they are independent. The second process is the one in respect of which there was a suit filed, a suit which was contested on the grounds of conflict of interest, and it is the one in respect of which this letter was written. Now, with regard to the suit, I don't have a recollection that any legal fees have been paid. And according to the agreement we have with Max, litigation is paid for in accordance with the advocate's remuneration rules. Now, no payment has been made in respect of the litigation. The payments that were made in respect of transaction advice, and I now know that there were other payments that were made in respect of collection from Dr. Rupereria and Mr. Cantaria for the conduct of the affairs of Crane Bank. So, with regard to payment of legal fees for litigation, no litigation fees have been paid. There were filing fees paid, but those are paid to the Uganda Revenue Authority, so Max Advocate never received them.
Okay, I have two questions. Question number one. When you talk about conflict of interest under the Advocates Act, does it limit itself to a matter in court or even before or even outside court, so long as an advocate is conflicted?
Thank you, Chair. With regard to the issue of conflict of interest, I think my recollection is that the committee took a decision that it was going to make an assessment.
No, I'm just asking a different question. We are going to do that. But when a conflict of interest under the Advocates, what is prohibited for under the Advocates Act? Is it about matters in court or even matters outside court?
Mr. Chairman, it would extend to both matters in court and any other matters handled. But just for pointing out, I think on the issue of conflict of interest,
we are not to determine
that it's going to determine, to make an assessment and determine whether there was conflict of interest.
There is an issue already in court, and we are not going to be a second court. But what we are asking, because we are aware about the rule of sub judice and we are respecting it to that extent. But the question is, because from your explanation we said, no, conflict only of interest applied to the litigation. It didn't apply to the transaction. So my question is, does conflict of interest also apply to the transaction under the Advocates Act? It could apply to that transaction.
Just for correction, Mr. Chairman, I didn't say that conflict of interest applied to litigation and not to the transaction. Okay? What I said is that the issue of conflict of interest remained a matter for assessment by the committee, and really for the Bank of Uganda to come in and say otherwise would be difficult.
No, you see,
now with regard,
listen,
yes.
Let's get the record clear. What remained for the committee was the conflict of directors of commercial banks to be advisors of the central bank. That's another issue. So let us also not relate them. Those are two different scenarios. And I'm sure from what I heard from the governor last time is that you are sitting as a bank and reviewing that policy. And for us, we leave it at that until we come up with a report.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think it would also serve this committee to look at the decision of the court with regard to the conflict of interest. When the court was taking a decision on conflict of interest, it took the view that Max Advocates was now representing Crane Bank against Dr. Rupereria, and yet both were his clients.
We are not, let me tell you, Madam Kasule,
yeah.
We are not going to interrogate matters that are in court. We are not going to do that. And I'm sure you would gladly not want us to, because we will be infringing on our own rules of procedure, and we are not ready to do that. So, we want the court to take a fair decision, not to be influenced by what is going on here. The record should capture that. So we are not going to start interrogating a judgment of a court. First of all, that would also be interfering in judicial functions. So please, leave that court matters out of this process.
Mr. Chairman, with regard to the decision on the conflict of interest, it is no longer really sub judice. The decision has been taken by the court.
But you said it, there is an appeal.
No, this decision on appeal, there was no appeal. A decision was taken by the bank that we are not going to appeal. And
so that memo has been overtaken by
this is like functus official. It's done. It's not functus. Okay, I don't want to use that language. But this matter is closed. There is no appeal. No appeal was filed.
Okay.
Yeah.
In any case, I think you are not the one who against a decision was taken. Why would you instruct to appeal? I was wondering.
No, there was no appeal. I'm assuring this committee that whereas this letter was written, the instructions were withdrawn, there is no appeal.
Yes.
Because we have a letter on record written by some written by somebody from Bank of Uganda instructing external lawyers to appeal. Without any letter, that actually cancels that one. There would be, it stands that you had instruction is the lawyer to appeal, and actually the appeal could be progressing. Do you have any evidence of any document that cancels that instruction?
Mr. Chairman, I'll look for it, but the lawyers are aware, and indeed even the time for appealing has long expired and there is no appeal. Yeah.
Chair, I also need to find out, the decision was against who?
The decision was against Max Advocates and AF Manga. It wasn't against the bank.
Now, why would an officer of the bank write advising Max to appeal?
Not advising, instructing.
Instructing. Why would an officer of Bank of Uganda instruct banks to appeal? As a who? What interest did he have?
Now,
I'm not madam.
No, Mr. Chair. In bank operations, and I think in any institution, somebody can take a step, and that step can be reversed. This one was reversed.
No, we are just asking, I'm asking, what mandate did Mr. Titus have for him to write, to direct, to instruct Max?
Introducing Always Cotton Soft. Its unique top sheet is as soft as cotton and gentle to your skin, while offering you soft and comfortable protection as you go about your day. Always Cotton Soft. Now available from 2,500 shillings only.
And win every 10 minutes. For every 1,000 you spend, it gives you one entry into the jackpot this Sunday.
On MTN, simply dial *165*33#. That's *165*33#. Then enter your 3 lucky numbers. Then enter your 1,000 shillings. And on Airtel, dial *185*33#. That's *185*33#. Then enter your 3 lucky numbers. Then enter your 1,000 shillings and get that super feeling today.
Good to have you on the program. I am Joel Kamadi. Now in the next half hour, we'll bring you up to speed on all you need to know about both local and international sport. Coming up on today's edition of Sport Today, we hear from Edward Golola and Innocent Wafula ahead of Vipers Uganda Premier League match at home to Onduparaka. Put our finger on the pulse of the Sydney International, as well as unpack the FA Cup 4th round draw. It is a packed program as usual, so do stay with us if you can. Right, our starting point is the Star Times Uganda Premier League, which enters match day 15 with 3 fixtures. Defending champions Vipers face potential banana skin when they welcome the visit of third place Onduparaka later this evening. Now the match will see Edward Golola direct traffic from the dugout after taking on the coaching reins from the sacked Javier Martinez Espinoza. New signing Innocent Wafula will not be available for selection, but Golola is confident the other players will rise to the occasion.
I expect a good game because I think we have told them everything, so we need to remind them. That's the only thing tomorrow. What we need to do is to remind them, and we must put the theme that our theme tomorrow is going to be on shooting. Shooting. Whenever you get an opportunity, you have to shoot. But to Flazi issue, we are yet to know. We are waiting for the administration. Yeah. The important thing is that to cooperate. That is the message. We go at first, we didn't cooperate. But we realized later that Portugal is better in such in the tactical training. So I decided to believe in me. But I think this Kenyan, what I've seen on coach is a good coach. He needs to cooperate.
Well, I know the thoughts of Edward Golola there. Elsewhere in the Star Times, Uganda Premier League log leaders KCCA FC make the short trip to Nambole to face URA FC. The match comes hot on the heels of match-fixing claims from coaches of both clubs. Now, recently, KCCA manager Mike Mutebi courted controversy when he claimed that league titles from the past 2 decades are squarely a product of match-fixing. Not to be left behind, URA's Sam Simbo alleged that referees that handled his side's recent match against Chirinya Jinja SS were compromised. FUFA today revealed that both Mutebi and Simboa have been summoned by the FUFA competition's disciplinary panel